All right, and welcome back. Well, earlier in the program, we heard from Common Ground volunteer Morgan Rick about farm safety.
Now Morgan has a recipe to share. Today she's sharing a recipe that can be a great way to use some of that garden produce.
Well, you may know someone who has a garden. Maybe you had a garden of your own and you got a lot of tomatoes this year. We're going to find out how you can use some of those before they go bad. And joining me now with more is Morgan Rick with Common Ground. And Morgan, you have an idea for us.
Yes. So unfortunately, my garden was hit by some storms this year, but I was lucky enough that my mother-in-law and my grandma both had really great producing tomato plants. So I've been thinking about ways that we can utilize the rest of those end of season tomatoes and maybe some other vegetables that you have laying around. And one of the ways that we could do that is with some fresh garden salsa. So to make that, I have some of the tomatoes from my mother-in-law's garden, some jalapenos from my grandmother, an onion from my local grocery store, and then some dry ingredients. So we have lime juice, and then you'll need salt and garlic powder. So just a couple of really simple ingredients can make a really flavorful fresh garden salsa that you can enjoy with chips on its own, or one way that I really like to enjoy it is on top of grilled chicken breast in the summertime.
When you are dicing the tomatoes, how small do you need to dice the tomatoes and the onions and everything?
Yep, so I am really lax when it comes to the similar size of how I like my tomatoes diced. It's just a rough dice. I like to use a serrated knife. I feel like that really helps to cut through the tomatoes more easily. So just a rough dice, the size doesn't have to be even. But then for onions and jalapenos, instead of dicing it up by myself, I like to use my handy dandy kitchen chopper. And then I'll also use that for my jalapenos so that I don't have to get the juice of the jalapenos on my hand. And with the jalapenos, if your family doesn't like a lot of extra spice, make sure that you're de-seeding those jalapenos before you add them to your salsa.
I wanted to know a little bit about the lime juice.
I feel like the lime juice helps add a little acidity and a little just fresh flavor to add to those tomatoes, onions, and jalapenos. And if your salsa gets a little too liquidy, sometimes those tomatoes can give off a lot of water and liquid once you've diced them up. You can drain off that extra liquid before you add your lime juice, because the salt also will help draw out some of that moisture from the tomatoes. So if you'd like it a little less juicy, feel free to drain that off.
Good advice. Thank you, Morgan, for being here today and telling us how to use up some of those tomatoes.
Thanks, John.